Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another episode of The Other Hand, the podcast where the only fact is the lack thereof of any. It is my new motto, I guess. I am Muhammad Imam, your humble host, and every day or every week we will discuss something, because everything, most things are debatable, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to debate them, I guess. Could have done a much better opening, but that's all I have. And today, with me to debate liberalism and progressivism, God, my mouth does not work the way it's supposed to work, is my friend Amged, Fraik. Hi Amged, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Amged has been a long time friend of mine. We've known each other for a good while, and he is the main host for the podcast Eyes Wide Open. They have 2 episodes, so you can check them out on SoundCloud at the Tackle Talk Podcast SoundCloud. And you guys are starting a YouTube channel or a Spotify, I think?
Yeah, YouTube channel. I mean, we've taken a long break from the podcast, so we hope to get back to it.
Yeah, hopefully you will. And you know what? When you started, I'm going to link it in my next video.
Oh, thanks, man.
All right, man. Anytime. So, would you like to start with the opening statement?
Yeah, I mean, when I presented this topic to you, I thought it was very interesting because a lot of people misconstrued both things and think they're kind of the same.
Yeah.
Where I feel like in today's society, there's a clear dividing line in politics between what people think is progressivism and what people think is liberalism.
Yeah.
See, I'm messing up that word too. It's so tight.
It's so hard to say.
Yeah, I know. But I'm on the school of thought that, like, I'll give you a little brief history about me, is that back maybe 2-3 years ago, I would consider myself a liberal, and I would be not afraid to say that word if other people asked me what my political ideology was or whatever. But then I feel like that word has just been lost, and you don't even know how to define it anymore. Whereas today I'm more of a progressive, where I think that's an independent thinker when it comes to how to improve things in society and bring people of all faiths together.
And I completely agree. I think liberalism and progressivism have nothing to do with each other. They have different core values. One of the core values of liberalism is tolerance, which is basically if something does not affect me and I don't agree with it, I should completely not consider it at all. For example, let's say someone is doing something I might consider lewd or immoral, all right? But it doesn't affect me, or it doesn't affect anyone. There's no harm from it, okay? I'm not going to mention any specific topics. But, so liberalism would say, well, it's not our job to interfere. They can do what they want. While progressivism, one of their core values is morality and spreading public morals, which is like complete opposite of the liberal view on this. So, for example, if they're doing something lewd, even if it doesn't affect me directly, or if it doesn't affect, it's mostly me directly, I shouldn't give it a second thought.
Yeah. I think I look at it from the sense of policy mostly, because I think liberalism is just this idea more so where we should want all people to be equal, and it's just everyone's equal regardless of their race or faith, and these are the things that we should fix and grant to them. But I don't feel any policy substance back behind that. And usually I just look at the politicians and how they speak, and it's just trying to be woke, trying to be more, you know what I mean, bigger than, but they're not actually solving issues by what are they going to do. So I don't know.
So here's the thing. You might be confusing libertarian with liberal. Liberal is an ideology. It's not necessarily a governmental side. We have libertarians who support certain ideologies that even liberalism does not support. I can't give examples because I haven't really looked into it. But with liberalism, it does have some conservative values as well. If you look at someone like Margaret Thatcher, she could be considered, although she's a conservative, she can be considered a liberal.
Yeah, but they also say MLK, Martin Luther King. Yeah. His civil rights movement, they regard it as more of a liberal thing. When I don't look at it that way, I think it's more of a progressive thing. Okay. So that's, it gets confused, and this debate is...
So, here's a sensitive touch on the progressivism thing. So you know how the progressive movement started, right?
No, actually, I really don't.
Around the 1890s, after the Industrial Revolution, a lot of people believe, the progressives, they believe that they wanted to evolve society and people so they can move forward. And you had, I think there were four factions in it. I think I don't remember the names exactly, but each of these factions, they had their own, their own objectives that they wanted to carry out. One faction wanted to, protect the people, and what do you call, make consumer goods, good, and pollution and all the stuff that came before the Industrial Revolution. Another faction, they were conservationists. They're not conservatives.
Yeah.
They want to conserve nature and our natural resources. Yeah. Okay, they have nothing to do with the conservatives.
So this Industrial Revolution was at the end of the 1800s and the beginning of the 1900s?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And we had the female workers who were working towards getting voting rights and working rights for themselves. We had that faction. And we had, I think we had the state who were trying to monopolize a lot of things. They were trying to set up rules for businesses. And that was progressivism at the time. However, a lot of the problems that came from progressivism were actually, one of the problems was discrimination. When progressivism first came, it came to improve society. And their vision of improved society was an American white family. Okay? So what happened with progressives, even though they voted for women's rights to vote, when they looked at the South, they were trying to ban African Americans from voting, and they did at that time. They did nothing to oppose it. In fact, they actually supported it. A lot of progressive movements, they supported the breeding of whiter families. Okay, they were like, okay, so we have the white families, they should breed more. The colored families shouldn't, because in that way it improves society. It improves the people. And the problem I think with that was progressivism was taken as from a one person's perspective, thinking, okay, I know what's better for the people, and what's better for the people is this, which is something that liberalism does not support. It is the skepticism of power is one of the things that liberalism likes to talk about. It's like we have people who have this power, this state control, all right, and they think they know what's better for us, but in fact it is the individual who knows what is best for them.
And that's for liberalism, you're saying. Okay, see, I didn't know that part of the beginning of progressivism and its history and how it started, but I think where I learned about it, and I feel like I do call myself a progressive today, is I look back at Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the president of, I don't know which president he was of the United States, but he was a president for actually 12 years, and in that period, I think the type of social reforms that he brought along, I felt that unified people more in terms of race and differences than anything else. Instead, I can always sense where liberalism is this speech about equality instead of actual policy substance.
It's true.
Where they brought the social programs that Franklin D. Roosevelt brought, the New Deal and everything. It's like this balancing act, because I think we're more so in a class warfare and a class imbalance than so a race thing. But they portray it, the media, as a race thing, that there's a race war between people of different religions and different races, obviously. But I don't think it's that. I think that's what they portray in the media and try to push the agenda that it is that way. But I think if we actually were a progressive society and we focused on education, we focused on healthcare, we focused on economic development of certain job sectors and focusing on the working class of people, I think the racial differences and that so-called divide would kind of diminish in the middle. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas I'll say this about liberalism, and the thing is, because I would have to use examples in this case, right?
Yeah.
So people would say, oh, Hillary Clinton is a liberal. And I'm like, what? When I hear that, I just kind of lose sense of the word, because I'm like, she really isn't. She's voted for multiple wars. She's interventionist. She is a conservative, but they think she's a liberal because of her speech and what she says and what she portrays, not what she's actually doing in the back room where people don't see that. So that's why.
That is true. Yeah. In practice, liberalism has failed sometimes. I'm not going to lie about it. There is, I think it was John Locke, who was like, oh, we want to implement liberalism for everyone except the Native Americans. We don't like those people. They don't deserve liberalism. We deserve liberalism. While liberalism at its core concept is like, we're all born equal. And I think what we're trying to say with the progressivism with Theodore Roosevelt, who was a great guy. He was successful to a degree. Yeah. I wouldn't say he was the most successful man, but he was successful to a degree. The problem is we need a good head of state. We need someone who can control the state to push forward. You see, progressivism is based on the state. It's based on the government. It needs government backing. That's what progressivism is about. There's government sanctions. There's the what do you call you do something with monopoly. I can't remember the word itself.
Like reform it.
In a sense, okay. But here's the thing: it's all controlled by a government. You rely mostly on the government with progressivism, and if the government is corrupt,
I understand that
will not work.
I definitely see that, and that's the worrying sign, and that's what causes people paranoia and hysteria when it comes to, oh, we should give all the power to the government, right? But I look at it this way: it starts at the top, right? Let's say, because we're using the United States for an example, at the president is a progressive, right? Let's say like Franklin D. Roosevelt, and let's say today a Bernie Sanders, right? But then it doesn't just stop there with his administration of that president. It has to impact local communities too. So people have to actually vote in, after they win the presidency, vote in people in their local communities and their town halls to put that agenda forth, because it's not going to happen from the top down. It has to be this both in the same time coming together, verging together. So I just go back to this thing where I think you said that if you give all that power to the government and the government is corrupt, but there's the thing, like, we have to put checks and balances on people, because right now they use people's taxes for God knows what. You don't know what they're using it for. There isn't like, I remember even, it was hilarious, Cardi B, you would not think anything of an entertainer like that thinking about these deep issues, but she actually just had a simple question like, where's my money going, Uncle Sam? You know, like, where is it? I don't know where my taxes are going. You know, are they helping? She's like, New York, it smells horrible. There's terrible infrastructure. Like, where is that money going? And that's the thing. So the government already does control those things, and already does make those decisions. But,
but if you look at the liberal view believes that the government should only be concerned with, conserving the people's liberty, which is basically, protecting us from outside effects. Yeah. And they should control the liberty, and they should control the harm that people might implement on each other, the main rules of law, and they shouldn't have all the control that they have. All this power, all this control should come from the people. People should be taking all these decisions. If you leave a free market, it will adjust itself so it satisfies the people. You might think, oh, but what if he raises the prices? If the prices go too high, the people won't buy, and the people will have to reduce the prices. We can, let the people monitor themselves, and we have we have societies within the communities that we have. Like, we have our families, we have churches, mosques, non-governmental based societies that can, give opinions, that can give mature, well-made opinions and control these things. We don't need to rely on the government to actually run everything for us.
I agree with that. Not everything, but I feel like there's some things that should definitely be on the checklist, like that are automatic. Yeah. I feel like, especially, I get into an argument with a lot of my friends about this healthcare. I think healthcare is not a privilege. It is a right. It is a right of the government, because if you let it for the free market, and I understand the idea of the free market, right? Yeah. When it comes to certain sectors, when it comes to, let's say, car companies competing against one another, I completely understand that, and I don't want the government intervening in that. Yeah. But when it comes to something like healthcare, you're playing with people's lives and determining the worth of their life based off how much they have in their bank account. And a lot of families are in debt and are crippled by this a lot. And that's the thing where one day any pharmaceutical CEO head can just wake up one day and is like, okay, I'm going to raise the price of this drug from $200 to $900, and nobody will ask questions and nobody will do anything about it. I feel like with at least with progressivism, there is that, like, we're gonna put a little bit of a tight knit on them. You know what I mean? We're gonna monitor them a lot more, and pass laws to kind of restrain them. Where you said liberalism is about the individual, and I think our as a society as a whole, I'm saying there is a lot of smart people in the world, but as an average, we have a lot of less educated people and morons out there.
You see,
and I don't think we have given power to the people, but they are not ready to use it in the right ways and to make change in their lives.
You see, now this argument is great, but the thing is, progressivism doesn't really monitor it in that way. You know, progressivism is still a capital ideology. Ideology. It's still, you know, to some degree, it's pretty individualistic. It's not based on the community. And so is liberalism. Liberalism is the father of capitalism. It's very, very individualistic. Mind your own business, do what's good for you, and everyone will be happy. True. But they're both capitalist ideologies. And this is an issue that comes with them, and I don't think either of these ideologies actually fix it. If you want to go into that, you should have come in my previous debate on socialism.
Social democracy.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's the thing with... I don't think these things can be defined in a box. I think what we need is a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of even conservative values, honestly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a mix of everything, but I think liberalism is on the verge of dying. I really do.
Liberalism has its ups and downs. It like many ideologies, it's based on you know, a core concept that relies on people doing what's right. All right. You know, it's basically like, okay, so we reduce the rules, we just have the harm rule, okay, people won't harm each other, and that's all we care about. As long as you don't harm someone, you know, you're okay. And the whole direct thing, the whole controlling the order thing will happen within the societies using the, I don't remember the word, but covenantal society, something like that, with the church. The churches and families, they control they're the medium of control, you know, just the neighborhood, you know, all that stuff will run out of time. But it is true. It is mostly based on these people making the right decisions, and we cannot really be 100% sure that they would. And so I would take your side on that. Progressivism has helped society. We've actually improved consumer products. We have less pollution in our air and our food. We've got women's voting rights from progressivism. We've controlled a lot of the monopolies out there. We've
to a certain extent, though.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, I feel like a certain administration, I won't show my biases out front, if they can win and defeat Donald Trump for the election, is that I think if it's done the right way, it can actually close that united divide that there is. Like, a lot of people just blame it on the minorities, and then a lot of minorities say, like, these white people have special privileges, when I don't think, like, there's a lot of poor white people, there's a lot of poor black people, there's a lot of poor everything, and then there's another level where we can't see beyond or kind of crack, and I think, like I said, it's the part of the education is how the media portrays it, and you shouldn't watch any corporate news channels because they are for profit, and they will want to keep the status quo. You know, and then at least I feel like, like you said, liberalism, it is for the individual, and I love that, right? But then at a certain point, an individual is not well versed enough in his education, in his ideology, and understanding how the world works. That he has that power, but he's not able to use it in the right way to improve his life.
It's true.
Whereas progressivism, it can actually, like, at least show the tunnel, and then I think it is true. I think even though it is one of the main points for liberalism, sometimes we need guidelines. We need guidance to some degree. Although at this moment, these guidelines are a bit too much. It's like, you have to do this, or you're gonna die. Which is not necessarily true all the time, but sometimes, yes, we do need the guidelines to some degree, and no ideology is perfect, no ideology isn't flawed, and I think that is it for me today. It was so fun having you on here. I'd love to have you another time. Thank you. For sure, I want to come back. This is great.
Yeah, please do. And, guys, the debate still goes. Leave a comment down below if you got something wrong. Leave a comment if you have a different opinion on things. Maybe come down here and have a little chat with me about a debate that you'd like, maybe even the same debate someday. And, keep talking, keep thinking. Don't let the debate die. And until another time, have a beautiful evening. Goodbye.